Jennifer, thank you for coming on here and doing this with me. I appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
So, for the people that are watching this that might not know who you are, like what you do, is describe a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and like what you're doing now, and then we'll kind of like work backwards a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jennifer Doheney, the full name, but everybody calls me Jen, and I always say Jen with two N's so that you remember.
Let's go.
Yeah, and I live in Canada. I'm in Toronto. I'm right in the city, and I am a wellness entrepreneur. I've been running my own business for the last 6 years, and I can talk to you a little bit more about what that's all about, but it does sort of flow into the school atmosphere. And yeah, basically, I worked in a corporate capacity for about 16 years as an executive. It brought me to a couple of different locations in the world to work. And we'll talk about that a little bit, I think, Dee, because it's part of the journey story. And yeah, I basically moved from corporate into wellness, not because I didn't love the corporate space, but because of my own sort of health journey. And yeah, overcoming those challenges with health brought me to do what I do now. And yeah, it's just kind of an ever growing thing with how much wellness you can bring both to the corporate space and to individuals and now using school as a platform. So it's been like a really curvy road full of ups and downs. But I feel happy right now. I feel peaceful if you're kind of wondering who I am as a person. And I think, Dee, if anybody needed to know anything about me right off the bat, is I feel like the stage that I'm at in my entrepreneur journey right now and the stage I'm at in my life, I'm right in the middle. I'm like half expert and half student all the time, you know?
I like
It's
that.
yeah, and it's a beautiful place to be. I feel like if you're still really hungry for new information and to want to learn, it makes you almost like a better teacher and a better entrepreneur. But I also feel like I've had so many experiences in my life, I can solidly say I am an expert in certain areas. So, yeah, that's me.
And you're from Canada, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm from Canada.
I was gonna ask that, but I think also like Canadians, you guys have a very specific way of saying about that. When you guys say it, we know you're Canadian.
Yeah, that is correct. That is
So
correct.
So at like what point in your life did you know like okay, health is something that I want to like get into and like as like an entrepreneur or like as an industry, or was that always something that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so I can answer the question by saying that like health and fitness has always been something that's been a part of my life. I grew up with a mother who was a nurse and who really wanted all of her daughters to be healthy and take good care of themselves. So we learned a lot about like eating healthy food, and we were a very active family. So I was always involved in fitness and, different gymnastics, different sports over the course of my life. And even as an adult, I just sort of carried on with all of that. But Dee, honestly, a lot of what I was chasing in terms of when you think about health and wellness was very much exterior, which I think a lot of
But
people would.
and when you say that, like, when are we talking about? Are you talking about as like a really little kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, all of those, or like what? Like when
Yeah,
you say
okay.
focus on the exterior.
Okay, so I would say that in terms of like all the way up until university,
Hmm.
I was very active. I played tons of sports. I was always interested in having like nice hair and nice skin and all the things like that. I didn't really think too much about, gaining weight or getting older because, of course, that's not really in your mind at that time, or at least it wasn't when I was that age. And yeah, when I got really into fitness and started getting personal trainers and all that kind of thing, the idea was to have this supreme physique, right? And I
Yeah.
was really into how that was going to look on me. And obviously, you gain confidence from how you look and wanting to be an attractive woman and finding a partner and all those kind of things. So, very much, I would say that what I ate and what I did from athletic standpoint was really to externally be who I wanted to be because I had lots of energy and a healthy brain and no other kind of issues to worry about from a health perspective. And then everything changed when I turned about 35 years old. I moved to Dubai, and I know, do you know a little bit about the story? So I'll let you sort of prompt me a little bit. But yeah, everything sort of changed to needing to heal my body or work on my body from the inside out. So that's a long time to be thinking about the outside, 35 years. And
Yeah.
then from then until now, yeah, I've totally done a 180.
No, no one's gonna believe that you're even older than 35, but we'll let that go.
You're you're very kind, very kind.
But honestly, though, but why Dubai? Like, how did you end up in Dubai? Like, why did you go from Toronto, right? You're in Toronto at the time,
Yeah.
to Dubai.
So I was working in a corporate capacity. I used to work in retail planning. So I know you're into fashion, so you will appreciate it. I used to work for like big box department stores. So think like Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Harvey Nichols, TJ Maxx. If you're in
I
the
feel
US,
like
you might
so.
know
I
that.
feel like this is just like a North American thing, no?
Well, Harvey Nichols is also in the
Never heard of
UK.
Harvey, but
So
the
it's
other
in
one.
the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like you're right. Like big box department stores is very much like a North American thing, right? And so over the course of my 16 years, I worked as a planner and as a buyer and as a director in various different areas. And I worked in every single category within a department store, which is rare, right?
So you were passionate about that, or you just ended up in that, or like how did that happen?
I studied fashion in university.
Oh my! See, we need you on the. I need to know these things. Okay, 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 okay.
I know I'm like, we're getting on the call. I was like, what do you want to talk about? Sometimes I feel
I
like
need your
there's so
help
many
eventually.
lives
Okay,
packed in.
help me. Okay, so this is cool. This is dope. All right, so you were studying fashion. It was this like a dream job of yours, or were you like, man, I want to be like at this level, like working with these big brands, or
Oh, it's such an interesting question. And honestly, not something I was thinking about talking to you about, but I'm very happy to do that. Um, so I went to university and I went a little bit early. And I remember telling my parents I was going to study economics. And I was very sneaky a few months in. And I said, oh my gosh, I see these girls doing this program on fashion and all the cool projects they were doing. I thought I could like sneak into the program and later ended up telling my parents I was in like a business program, which was it was fashion management, fair enough. But anyways, I ended up kind of sneaking in there, and it really was intended to not necessarily breed designers, if you were, but think about people who work in the fashion industry. Some everything from being a buyer to running stores to everything in between. What you could, and a lot of universities actually don't promote that, right? It's sort of like be a designer or
yeah,
they don't. So it was a very cool program. It was run by a lot of like industry leaders and stuff. So it was very practical. I got a job right out of school. So you're asking me, was it a dream? I did my hand at doing a few fashion shows and sewing clothes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a creative person, but I guess, Dee, the other thing besides me being a teacher and a student, something that I would say is like unique about my brain is I am as equally creative as I am strategic. I truly am like split down the middle, and oftentimes people either prefer one or the other. Um, or harness the skills more on one than the other. But no matter which career I'll talk about with you today, or that I've invested any time in, what's made me successful is having the blend of both. So being in fashion allowed me to flex the creative brain, right? But also to be strategic because I dealt with big budgeting and renovation projects and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, basically, I moved to Dubai because a company in Dubai found me because I had this sort of rare experience of understanding every department in a department store, ladies and handbags. And so I see all of your stuff going up, Dee, all of your merch.
I need your help with some stuff eventually, but that's a conversation for another day.
um, Yeah, well, just think about that as an example, right? Like understanding how women's clothing works is very different than how men's clothing work, and then
100%.
accessories and hats and shoes and like which sizes you buy and all of that stuff, right? There's a nuance to all of that. And then when you build a new department store, for those people who are listening to us talking, they're like, what's a department store? But it's like this big, huge space, right? Like a 200,000 square foot space where there are departments for kids and for home and for apparel and all of this stuff. And I would help people plan which portion of the store was which department and how much stuff
It's
went
kind of
inside
like
and
it's
which
kind of like a
brands.
mall, but in one store.
Yeah, it's a great way to explain it. And it's actually a very practical way to shop, but I feel like over time they sort of lost their swagger, the coolness. They didn't
Yeah.
necessarily pick the items that warranted going into that experience, right? And being in the
Hmm.
whole store, but practical. So
So okay,
anyways, yeah.
so I know like when you were telling me this story, you ended up in Dubai. I would imagine like things are going good, like health, looks wise, maybe money wise, travel wise,
Yeah.
life wise, and then you said some certain things started like happening to where you started having to make certain changes in your life. So kind of maybe walk us through like what that was like.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I definitely echo what you say. Like the moving over there was so exciting, and to be, an expert in an area that they needed me was great. But then the student part was the not knowing the Middle East at all. I'd never
Oh
been an
yeah.
expat before. So, Dee, I know you move around a ton, right? You've lived in a lot of different places. Um, and yeah, so that was kind of the growing part, right? Was navigating what's it like to live in the desert and all of the things. The job was good. Loved the travel. You can relate to this too. So much easier to travel in that part of the world than it is in
Oh
North
yeah.
America. So much more affordable. So life was pretty amazing. And the reason I'm giving you these facts before I tell the story is because I'm going to tell you a story about burnout. And every time somebody hears the word burnout, and I've been telling this story for a long time, that everyone immediately thinks, oh, she was working too hard. She wasn't taking care of herself, no breaks kind of thing. And people often associate feeling burnt out with your work. And it's really important to understand that burnout can happen from many different facets in your life. And I'm just a really good example of that because work was amazing. In fact, I was more balanced in this job in terms of not working evenings and weekends than I ever was living in Canada and my various different roles. But okay, big breath. uh, the story basically is I know, Dee, you said I can be as vulnerable as I want or, sort of pull back, but the story isn't the story unless I sort of put a little bit of my heart on the line. About 3 months after I moved to Dubai, I started to recognize that my hair was falling out. I can see I'm fair, I've got thin hair, and I ignored it until it started not subsiding. It just kept happening. So I ended up asking some of the other women that I met
How
there.
were you noticing this at first? Was it just like in the shower or like when you're looking
Yeah,
in the
like
mirror or
I
like
could
what?
feel it. Like I could feel it coming out.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And it's so interesting, because hindsight's obviously 2020. But if you are noticing something, just you're doing your daily things and you're noticing something happen, I don't know why we don't say to ourselves, like, oh, that's different and that's not normal. But instead, I didn't want to notice it.
Yeah,
I
I think
wanted,
that's the thing. Like you don't want to like admit it, and then you're like, I don't really want to go to the doctor. They're gonna try to sell me on something. I don't know.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then I started asking people if they thought I looked okay. And if they were experiencing it, and both things are ridiculous because if somebody else is losing their hair and you're losing their hair, does it mean that you losing your hair is not bad?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
It's like, is that why you guys are wearing those things on your head over here?
Well, actually, it's interesting that you say that because apparently what I learned is that, people who are born, and this is just an interesting fact, but like people who are born in that part of the world often have like more coarse hair and they're really,
Yeah.
their constitution is well set up to be in that environment. Where you take somebody like me, I wasn't born in that environment, and it makes it more challenging to live in that space. I'm sure you could take the exact same situation where someone who is born in a different part of the world and you move them somewhere else, that they're not always successful, uh,
Yeah.
without trying
Hmm.
really hard.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been to Dubai, it's a beautiful place. It's shiny, it's fun, and it's got lots of stuff to do, and lots of first experiences for me. Being an expat is amazing. I see a lot of people on your calls, Dee, for Undeterred, and like people commenting. They're sort of from everywhere. So I'm sure
Oh
if
yeah.
anybody's, yeah. Um, okay, so I'll kind of like wrap up the story so everybody can get an idea. I lived in Dubai for 4 years in total. First, my hair started falling out, and then I started having low energy. And then I started having sleeping problems. And it was all sort of like a very slow burn, right? So nothing hit me like all of a sudden. The hair was obviously the most traumatizing because I'm a woman, and you can tell you could tell by how I looked that it was happening. But the tiredness and the brain fog and all of that stuff, I supplemented by taking supplements. I was getting vitamin injections and basically doing anything I could, coffee, to sort of cover what was happening. And at the most severe end of it, I started losing memory, and I started losing word recognition. So imagine
Wow.
living in a country. Yeah. Did you want to comment?
No, I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So my role in the company was basically to be the liaison between the people who were designing these department stores, because they were new projects, and then the people who would own and operate them. So just think about like a table of stakeholders where everybody was together, where everybody had to come to agreement on various subjects. And I would be the person to understand what everybody needed so that we could all sort of find peace, right? To find a way to all meet in the middle. And that required a tremendous amount of communication and being able to articulate myself clearly. And I'm in a country where everybody's first language is not English. So most people would have something and then English as a second. You had to know how to speak English to get there, in this particular project. And I was trying to find a word I would use with someone who was native English. And I couldn't find it, but I could always find a second word, and nobody would notice because English wasn't everyone's first
Oh
language.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I could hide it, kind of, except for in my heart I would know, like, why can't I remember that word, or why? And same thing with the whole sort of like aging process, different skin and looking older. I bought more makeup. I worked in luxury fashion, right? Cut my hair different, darker, wearing hats, more jewelry, like anything to distract. And the reason I'm telling this story in this much detail, Dee, is because hopefully if anybody is going to listen to this, that like the big lesson here is that all of those band-aid solutions of like, if you sell it to me in a bottle and says my hair was going to grow back, like I was buying it. If I could drink a drink that was going to get me through the next 5 hours of the day and then let me go out and dancing with my friends in the night, like I was going to do that. And no matter how much money I spent and how much effort I made drinking broccoli for breakfast, like just anything I could to be as healthy as possible, all it ever did was keep me barely, barely even, and anything would knock me off and I'd have to sort of catch up again. Like it wasn't a natural place for me to be. And in the end, none of it ended up curing me. And it took me almost 4 years to ask the question, why is this even happening to me? I was just trying to like cover it up, cover it up.
Yeah.
Don't, yeah, it's kind of wild. And I would consider myself an intelligent person. Uh, as I'm sure many people who would have an experience where they ignored it would say they're an intelligent person. We don't know why we do the things we do, but when life is good and you're excited about the things that are happening in your life, like being sick is not welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question would be, before you said all of that, you're like, okay, I need to take like a deep breath. What about that story feels like so like heavy, I guess. Because to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's crazy, but you're telling me something that happened in the past that also you didn't have control over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the question is partially because we have a limited amount of time to talk to each other, and I want to tell you the stuff that's important. And I want to be able to get, to come to full circle to tell the story. And it's a big, I don't want to go on too long with the details. I want to give people what is the most important facts. So I'm kind of taking a breath to also gain some understanding about what I'm going to share to make sure everyone can follow easily. And then I guess the separate part is, Dee, that as a woman, when you start to tell people that you lost your hair or that this was kind of happening to you, they're immediately going to kind of zone in and be like, what does it look like now? And,
Oh,
are you
really?
okay? And
Really?
yeah, sure.
I think
So,
people can tell just from looking right now that it looks good. So I don't think you have to worry about that.
well, thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, and that was like you and I were talking just before we really started this more formal chat, right? About like health and how to take care of yourself and all the things that we do to, I don't know, keep our healthy skin and healthy hair and all those kind of things. I do believe that it doesn't come in a bottle. Okay, like yeah, you can buy nice shampoos and ice creams and all that stuff, but in my experience from healing myself from this extravagant experience, and I can tell you guys some official medical names that you understand it, because you might have some of the things I have and maybe you want to need a little support, you can always reach out to me. um, but everything comes from practices where you have like discipline, that you look after yourself every day, whether that's looking after your body or your brain or how you're feeding your body. um, I really believe that like that's how you heal, right? You need to understand what's going on, not just slap a band-aid on it, whatever that band-aid is for you.
And so, like, how did you get to the point where, like, you were out of that cycle? Like, what did that
Yeah.
look?
So let me fill your school in here on the part of how I went home and then I came back to experience the same thing, just so that everybody understands sort of the severity. So imagine I'm not looking good. I'm much older than when I originally arrived. Happy, not wanting to admit things are bad. And one day I just looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you can't ignore this anymore. Like it is a
Oh,
pro.
actually, I have a question. So, like, when you said that, when you mentioned like, um, oh, when you're a woman and your hair is falling out, people will be like, oh, what does it look like now?
Yeah.
My question is like, what did it look like then? Like, how bad? Like, how bad are we talking? Are we talking like it just fell out a little bit, or like I look at you and I'm like, oh wow, like there's definitely some bald patches. Like, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. So it's a good question. And I thought I was originally saying to you, like, oh, I'll send you some pictures. And then I'm like, no, I don't really want, I
Because like,
don't,
all right, when I did the interview with Annalise, we ended up talking for a while afterwards,
yeah.
and then she opened up to some things, and she was like, sometimes I'm like worried about being vulnerable, but honestly, it's like I think those are the things that are helping people the most because other people feel this way, and if I'm talking like the people I'm talking to are normally like the stronger people, right? So like they overcame it, and
Yeah.
it's like she's like us opening up like can help other people. She's like people are going to open up at different levels. But she like sharing that is sometimes people have shame and different things they're going through. And hearing
Yeah.
like someone like you or someone else is like, oh wow, like I really needed to hear that. So I
Yeah.
try to do a better job of asking these like deeper questions that other people might not touch on.
Okay, so I'm happy to answer that question. So let's make the answer um, informative from a medical perspective, and then I will tell you about like what my experience was. So for starters, I'm celiac, and for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that means that I have an autoimmune disease and I can't eat wheat, barley, or rye. I've had it since I was 28 years old, so about 18 years, if anybody wants to do the math. That's been a long time, right? That I've had it. And one of the challenges moving to the Middle East is the labeling on the food is not the same as you have to have in Canada or the US. So they didn't have to say everything that was inside. So I might buy a
Oh,
date, but it was dusted in flour, so it wasn't sticking to each other. But I didn't know, you know? So my body was probably inflamed from that
uh,
sort of experience. Do you even think about things like it's kind of wild? Think about supplements and vitamins and stuff and the case around the vitamin. That case could have wheat in it, being
oh yeah.
manufactured. Yeah. So, anyways, obviously things that you have to learn when you move to a new place, right? So, all of the things that being celiac could cause as harm, it's basically my body is not absorbing vitamins and minerals as it should. So, if you're not getting the vitamins and minerals you need, automatically your hair, your skin, your brain, your nails, everything is not going to be perfect. Okay. So, that's hit number one. And then the second thing that happened to me is I developed a thyroid problem. So, I have hypothyroidism. Oftentimes, celiac and thyroidism go together. And usually it ends up coming out when your body is under duress, right? So you have something in your system. And when something challenging in your life happens, like me getting tired and all of these things happening there, my body just said, "Oh, no, we're not like producing all your hormones anymore. We don't like it here. This is hard work." So all of a sudden I got a thyroid problem, which basically caused all kinds of things around like mood and memory and speech. And that's that whole component, right? And then the last thing is I used to exercise. You opened this up with exercise. So now I teach and practice yoga, meditation. I'm very like a mindful type of person in that sense. But I used to lift weights and run. I would like chug an energy drink and hope no one was on the treadmill when I got there and like and when you're stressed and you can't sleep and you're grumpy, that was like my saving grace. I mean, I had a bad day or someone frustrated me. I'd put on my running shoes and go for a run so that I could find my center. But imagine your body is already struggling to keep all of its energy. And then you're like, oh no, let's put on some running shoes and do a little more. And I
Yeah.
didn't even know. And so I ended up burning my adrenals out. So I'm sure people have heard that comment, but it basically means you've got no get up and go. And I still ignored it. And I was supplementing my energy with coffee. So those are three things that happened. Okay. So you can just imagine my body was like, oh, we don't get vitamins and minerals. Oh, your hormones are not good. And now we don't have the energy even. So basically, what happens, Dee, is if you have a limited amount of energy, your body needs to keep your heart going, your digestion going, so digesting your food, and keep your brain functioning. And things like hair and nails and skin are very, very secondary for your body taking care of itself. So it only has enough juice. It's just going to keep the main things going. And the rest of it is a no. So for what happened for me, because you were asking about like what type of hair experience,
Yeah.
it was thinning. So it wouldn't be, I had some, like if I have pictures of me with like missing hair at the front, this is a really sensitive part of your hair. I think when men start to lose their hair, a lot of times it's this sort of front hairline, like
Yeah.
the widow's peak area. That happened to me. But overall, just really thinning throughout. So, you know, if a girl made a pony or a girl or a guy with long hair made a ponytail and you'd say, oh, okay, it's like a quarter around my hand, right?
Yeah.
And then, oh, okay, it went to a dime.
Oh wow.
You know, like you're losing your hair. And it's, you know, it's already really skinny hair. So it's, yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what happened, you know, just, and you actually, when you start to lose your hair, you might notice people do start to age just simply having less hair. It might have nothing to do with your skin or wrinkles or anything, but it can really age you.
And so you said after that you ended up going back to Canada and then coming back and it happened again. Touch on that real quick.
Yes. So I tried to resign. They said go home and work for 3 months, which was a total blessing. I would never expecting that. Working from home was not so common back then. I arrived, I found out all the things I just shared with you, all these medical things, and I was told not to exercise. The only thing I was allowed to do was yoga and walk, which was really hard when you tell someone not to move, right? And yeah, I took such good care of myself and I started to grow my hair back. Now I had some treatments done on my hair as well, D, something called PRP. which is a procedure where they inject like the plasma from your
Is that
blood
like stem
into.
cell kind of?
Have you ever heard of the vampire facelift?
No.
Okay. You might see pictures on the internet. It looks like girls have blood on their face. It doesn't actually look like that, but I mean, the internet's the
Oh,
internet.
okay. Yeah, I think I have actually.
So, okay. So, and the reason I think it's important because you're talking about like vulnerability, and so many people who either like sell products or sell success stories or coaching things, they only give you half the story, right? I could easily come on here or just talk to somebody else and say, oh, I do yoga and meditation. It changed my life. My hair grew back and I'm a happy woman. It's totally not the story. Okay. Like there's so much more juice and interest behind all of it. But at the beginning of like that crisis moment when I didn't have any hair, I did have the luxury of having some extra money to spend on myself in order to help myself heal faster. And the treatment I did was called PRP, platelet rich plasma. So they inject blood out of your body. They centrifuge it. So the sticky yellow stuff is on the bottom and then the red is on the top. And that gold sticky stuff is literally like golden juice, and they inject it into your scalp and it stimulates your own hair growth. So you're healing yourself with your own blood, essentially,
It's
your own
incredible actually.
plasma.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But I'll tell you a funny story too. I did this treatment in Dubai before I even knew that I had a thyroid problem and I had to be on medication. So I spent thousands of dollars on fixing my hair only for it to fall out again because I didn't,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
It's wild, the things we learn and the pain of the learning.
You,
um,
you might be saving someone else some money though, so
yes,
it's
exactly. If that's the
okay.
only thing I do, if it's the only thing I do is save someone money, yeah.
Uh,
Bless everyone who learns from my experiences. Um, okay, so sorry. See, there's so many little kind of side things. I went home, hair grew back. I always make a joke when I'm telling this story that, like, and the girls listening to this will know, you know, when you blow dry your hair and you have all these little, like, extras that the girls take the spray and they push them down. I was so proud of my extras, like a little mane, you know, and I decided to move back to Dubai and I moved to the beach. I got a place that had extra space to set up a yoga room. And I was like, I'm going to take all these things that I did at home, I'm going to move back and I'm going to do this for wellness instead of my aggressive exercise. And I was there for 3 months and all the hair fell out again. Yeah. Honestly, I was telling this, I told this story like 5 or 6 years ago when I finally got brave enough to tell people about all this stuff and like literally having tears in my eyes. It's a horrible memory, you know?
yeah.
Um, okay. And then I decided I had to leave. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I didn't want to not be an expat. So I moved myself to Bali. And I did that for kind of a 3 month treat for myself. I'd never had a sabbatical or any kind of a time off. And I decided to do my yoga teacher training when I was there because I didn't want to be lazy and accomplish nothing. And I'll let you ask the questions from here, but this is sort of where like the journey really, like the healing part really begins.
Yeah, I really love doing these interviews because I feel like it's like whenever I would watch successful people, they'd always be like, I did it, you can do it too. But I feel like it's like, but how? And I feel like people usually interviewees, like the people that are doing the interviews, like they ask super surface level questions. So it makes it seem like, oh, I was just successful. But like there's these deep things that I think people don't want to talk about because it's vulnerable. But I feel like when we are able to, other people can relate to it. And it's like it was hard for you, and sometimes it makes you emotional. But like for us, it's like you are undeterred. Like you're still going, you're still pushing, and you're like that was a part that was hard, but like I'm still doing what I'm trying to do, and I think that's super inspirational to like other people. So I appreciate you opening up and sharing that. I guess because I know you have to leave here in a minute. What like so? How did you get from
Well,
the
I'm
point of
okay. Are you gonna chop anything out of here? Or are we just gonna roll with it being natural? I don't
yeah,
mind.
just
It
roll
doesn't
with it.
matter.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
roll with it.
So I'm looking at the time. We're okay until
Like 15 minutes.
uh yeah, 15,
Okay.
20 minutes.
Um, I guess like a good question would be like, so how did you go from okay, you're working with this company, you're in Dubai, then you get to Bali, but now
Yeah.
like you're on school and you're doing your own thing. Like,
Yeah.
how did you go from those to where you're at now?
Okay. Um, so I'll do the career timeline and then I'll go back and do like my spiritual timeline because I think that probably
Okay.
makes most sense. Okay, so career timeline, I took a break for 3 months off in Bali. And even though I was not working, I was still totally type A personality, waking up early in the morning, like filling my days with stuff, even though I didn't really have stuff to do. And at the end of the 3 months, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to still be tired. Like, I'm going to take a break and still be tired. So I ended up taking, I woke up one morning and I said, I'm going to let myself sleep in and not have like a normal, I didn't want to miss the sun. If you live in Canada or the US, you know what that's like. You got to take
Yeah.
advantage of every sunny day. And I was like, no, I'm just going to sleep in. And I literally slept D for 3 weeks. Okay. I slept for about 18
That's
hours.
see.
Yeah. I slept for about 18 hours a day. I lived in this tiny little room, a tiny little, I think I paid $20 a night, $25 a night, tiny little room. I had a bed, I had a nightside table, I had a shower with rocks, a little shower head, and a little fridge. And the only thing I would do every day is wake up, eat one meal. I would literally eat all the food and have a shower and go back into bed. And I slept like this for about 18 hours a day for literally 3 weeks, so almost a whole month that I was there. And I finally gave myself permission to rest.
Wow, that's incredible.
Tells you how tired, right? Like how tired your body is. And so what's important about that is that I recognize that that break wasn't enough for me. And I started to look around to do the corporate store planning piece in Hong Kong and in Singapore and all these other places that take expats to the same thing. And I just thought I would get myself into the same situation again. So I decided to live in Bali for a year and a half. And I met a woman who was opening up a luxury retreat for corporate burnout. And I met her just by natural introduction. And I wanted to teach some yoga and meditation. That was the reason we got connected. But then when she realized my background and my planning experience and all of that, she hired me to do some jobs for her and things like that. So I did that. And I stayed in Bali and I taught more yoga and meditation everywhere I could and did lots of training to kind of heal myself. So it took me a year and a half to heal from my issue. Uh, and truly yoga and meditation, and yes, some PRP kind of got me there. And I had tons of I feel like the word transformation and awakening can kind of be overused, but I'll come back to that. So basically, Bali worked at the retreat. I finally realized that working for somebody who is an entrepreneur, this will be important, I think, for your group here at Undeterred. So I am now a woman who has worked many years in a corporate capacity and as an executive, right? So I've been responsible for people before. And then this woman who has money and a vision now wants to open up a retreat and I'm helping her, but I'm doing as much work as she is. Okay. If not more. And I finally got the confidence to say, like, you know enough to do this yourself. You don't need to be working for someone anymore. And I didn't want to open up a business in a country that wasn't mine because of the logistics and
Yeah.
various things. Yeah, do you feel the same? That makes sense, right? Because
Yeah,
of government. And so I ended up going home and I started the company that I now run that's called Waloga. And basically that's been open for 6 years. So the original intention was to deliver workshops to corporate environments to teach them about all the ways that I healed myself, right? And not to be about myself, but to teach people about yoga therapy, about lifestyle philosophies based on like ancient yoga practices, how to move in your body without killing yourself every time you move, and learning how to breathe functionally, and all the things that really changed me that I use all the time. And then the pandemic happened. Yay.
crazy.
And right? Isn't that everyone's got that story, right? It's like this huge kind of like chunk of, oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? Too bad. um, Anyways, it ended up working in my benefit because every company needed someone to come online and to help them with wellness. So I started out doing yoga and breathing and desk stretches and everything I could, and eventually doing online cooking classes. So this lasted for about 2 years. And then people started asking me for more, and I didn't have more. And so the bigger part of the story, Dee, and I don't know, we'll get into any more detail about it today, but basically Wologa now builds corporate wellness programs for companies in Canada, the US, and the UK. We do bespoke programming. And so our team is made up of 30 speakers and teachers, educators that teach on 6 different areas of health. So we've got people who do things on mindset, people who help you look after your emotions, conflict resolution at work, how to be a better negotiator, developing creativity, purpose. Yes, all the body things that you think about. But basically, we have like 80 different workshops that people can kind of choose from. And then we put programs together and we help companies get educated in like the areas that they need. Not everybody needs a fitness program for their employees, and everybody doesn't necessarily want it, but everybody might really appreciate learning about how to have stronger relationships or how to overcome negative thoughts or whatever it is. So that's my full-time gig. That's what I do. And I also train some of the speakers that are on. So if there's a scale from beginner to advanced or seasoned, is probably the right word, I train speakers to help get on stage and develop their confidence, both in person and virtually, and all sort of like the nuances of getting hired and pricing yourself and all that kind of stuff. So that's my full-time gig.
How how do bef before we do run out of time, how do people
Yeah.
like get in contact with you if they're like, man, I want to, because obviously we could talk about this forever, like if we had the time,
Yeah.
but like how can people get in contact with you if they're interested in, working with you or the things that you have going on? Like, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So, well, thank goodness for school. They're so smart. So, right at the bottom of your profile, it kind of gives your website and your LinkedIn and all your stuff. So, if anybody watches this and they just want to say, hey, I want to follow Jennifer Doheney at any time, you can go on any of those links and find my stuff. But I'll give you a really quick summary about
Because this
how.
goes on YouTube, so not everyone even has a school.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah.
it's going on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that
Am
because
I
like
going to be
sometimes
famous?
because people want to be able to share it with other people, and if I only post it in the community, you'd be like, oh, you have to join to
Okay.
watch. But like, let's say somebody wants to share it with their kids or their mom or their coworker or whoever, or people just want to have something to share. Like it's a good way for people to get their story out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, well, I love you for asking and thank you so much. So let's kind of give it a three-prong effect. So, first of all, if you're like, wow, my company really needs some wellness and we want to have Jen in to speak or one of her speakers or put a program together, I have a website and the brand is called Wologa. Maybe Dee, I can share that website with you. It's not
How do
on
you spell it?
school. WELLOGA, and it's dot space
Oh, I
SPACE.
like this. The whole time I'm thinking you're saying like Willow. Isn't her name Willow Smith? Like I'm thinking Willoga, like
No.
Willoga. But now this makes sense. What like well Oga, like yoga but
Yes.
well in the front. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. All
um,
right.
and all the entrepreneurs who are watching this who are like, it's so interesting because right at the beginning of your journey, it's like you've got this fabulous vision and you're so ready to get started. And what is so important is your name, your logo, and your colors. It's like these are the things you really, it's like, so, oh, yay. I'm glad 6 years later it makes someone happy. Thanks for that, Dee.
I think it's just like the difference in our pronunciation because I thought you were saying will, but now I understand it's well.
Well, Waloga.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it used to be wellness yoga, but of course now it's all the things we chatted about. So yeah, if anybody
I like
wants to
that.
reach out to me, my website just has like a chat with Jen. There's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. And then there is school, which is how I met Dee. And thanks for this, Dee.
Of
Like
course.
honestly, for anybody who's watching this podcast, I've had such a great experience joining school, and Dee and Lauren and Undeterred have been a huge part of my positive experience. I've met really nice people on their page. Spent some time both in the free meetups and also just recently joined their mastermind. So, anyways, yeah, it's been really good. Even this, just having a chat. I mean, who knew, right?
Right? Who knew all the things we were talking about? One thing I like to ask everybody, because this does go on YouTube,
Yeah.
and YouTube being like, this video could exist in 10 years, we never know. Like, what is something that you feel like you need help with right now? Like, it could be, hey, I need
Oh,
$10 million, or I wish I had someone that could be the CEO, or I wish I had this. Like, we never know, like, who's going to watch this, what connections they have, or what knowledge they have. So I always like to ask that question. That way it exists. We never know who could possibly reach out.
okay. I want to answer that question. Will you remind me to come back to let people know what school I did create afterwards?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, Ooh, I'm afraid to say what I need, D, because I also don't want to necessarily get like so many people reaching out, but it's the only honest answer I can give. I am not very good at helping people find me. So that's basically marketing, right? I love to speak. Obviously, I speak for a living, right? And I think that I'm confident with what I can deliver and what I have to say. I'm happy with my messaging and what my brand stands for and what I'm trying to achieve. But when it comes to getting like the likes, the shares, the follows, all of that stuff, I find it very challenging. And I think also, D, when I end up telling people that I do have, well, two schools, right? One paid, one free. Um, Running Waloga and managing the schools. And I also teach yoga on the side because that's my joy. Um, Having time to do all the social media for all the things is really hard. Sometimes I feel like I know that the right thing to do is to do kind of like what you and I are doing right now is to share the information that is free and important and useful and trust building, right? Like I know that that's the common sense way to build trust and a following to get the more likes and shares. But sometimes the only time I've got is to say like, "Hey, I'm hosting this workshop at this day and time. Click here." Like it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a toggle between how do I spend my time? Do I get people to do this or do I share more? So that's the struggle is the marketing, everything marketing, getting more people to look at what we're doing, and then trying to manage all the different channels and all the different formats of social media in a way that doesn't feel salesy and pushy.
So let me maybe do a favor for you. Since you
Okay.
said, oh, I don't want to have all these people reaching out to you. What what would like the perfect person like look like for you? That way it's like, if you end up having to tell people no, it's like you already said like, this is exactly like what I'm looking for. And maybe people that aren't that don't reach out then.
I heard the most, and it gave me such a lift, D, when I heard this, is that I can't remember if it was a podcast or I read an article or something, but it was to the effect of you can be incredibly intelligent and have a great business idea and have an unbelievable amount of work ethic. But unless you have resources and a network, you're not necessarily going to be successful. And I feel like for the last 6 years, I do believe that my ideas are good ones. With Waloga and meeting the corporate world's needs with wellness. Hopefully, my school idea too. Um, and I have a crazy amount of work ethic, but I don't have the resources I need to do the marketing that I need. And I don't necessarily have the network set up yet, which of course is helpful right now, just even talking to you and meeting you and some of the people you know. So D, if I had to answer your question, I would say I wish that someone with a whole lot of influence in the corporate world saw me, met me, and said, wow, like that girl is really doing something different. And she seems very passionate about what she's doing. I want her to be seen by more people. And maybe that's
Mm.
being on like a huge podcast. Maybe that's someone kind of stepping up and saying, like, you've got 7 of the 10 things you need. Let me help you fill in the gaps. Um, And sometimes, D, when that happens, people, there's coaches that you pay tens and thousands of dollars for. And I don't think it's not valuable to do that, but I've done that already and I haven't had a great success rate. So I think I'm maybe looking for a little bit of an angel moment.
That's super helpful, actually. That gives, I think, people better direction. It's not like these people that are just gonna read a Alex Ramosi book and then just DM you. Are you opposed to getting on a call? That's not what she's looking for. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
What?
I'm looking for someone with real influence. I think, yeah.
So talk about the two schools that you opened as well.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys heard the story about my burnout and about how I started Wologa. And so if I take Wologa and you guys realize that I spend all of my effort on trying to satisfy the health and wellness needs of a corporate audience, and what happens is sometimes I'll speak in front of 100 people or I'll, teach to a certain amount of people. And there's always five, six people in the crowd that are like, we want to be with you more. And I never have anywhere to ask them to go. Right. And imagine all the different groups I talk to and all
Yeah.
the different classes. I was like, what can I do to bring all these beautiful people together? They want more cooking, more yoga, more meditation, not necessarily all of the stuff the other teachers do, but to spend more time with me. And so I wanted to create sort of like this family environment. So I created a school called the Thoughtful Slowdown. Anybody can join. There's lots of like free recordings and daily challenges and free meditation in there. And then I'll be adding on things like cooking classes and yoga classes. And then I have all of this, how I recovered from burnout. It's like an 8-week program. I haven't launched it yet, but it's all in the works for anybody who's watching this and he was like, oh my gosh, I have the same thing. Tell me, see if I can help you. So that's my baby, D. This is it's like, I want to call it like adult recess. It's not a school where you have to spend tons of time. It's a place you go in and you do a little twist, you write a little gratitude, you say hi to your people, take a moment to close your eyes and take care of yourself. And then I did open up a second school, which I'm not advertising right now. It's kind of if you know me, is that I'm going to run a 4-week speaker intensive that's specifically for virtual speakers. So I'm only doing 10 spots, D, because it's pretty personalized. So imagine someone speaks in person and they want to speak virtually. Sometimes they don't transition that well.
Hmm.
Imagine looking at 100 black boxes instead of 100 faces.
Yeah.
Your pace, your confidence, your humor, your timing, how you support them, all the things changes when you're online. And a lot of times people, believe that they should be paid $1,500 for a 1-hour class, and you may very well be worth that. But then they do it and they never get hired again. And it's so hard to get the jobs to begin with. It's nice to know what should I be charging based on what's out there in the market. So sometimes you don't know if you don't have enough access to other people. And then how can I make sure that people hire me again?
I love
So
it.
yeah, I'm really excited about
In,
that one, but it
any
starts in 2 weeks. So
anything else you would want to share before we hop off here?
no, I thought got on the call thinking, gosh, I'm really tired. How am I going to talk to Dee? And here I am. I talked for a whole hour.
You did it. You did it. You did a great job too. I really love your story and like how now like you're helping others with this is super dope.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, I'm really excited to see where the whole school thing goes. If only I could be as successful as yourself and Lauren in growing how many people you have on there. Like it's wild. Uh,
I think like what I think you'll start to have like the connections and resources. I think that's something that we can try to like help you out with because I feel like it sounds like a lot of the other stuff is in place. It's just the people, and it's like that's what I want to do with Undeterred is connecting those people with great ideas with other people that can help bring their dreams to reality. So hopefully this helps with that.
yeah, well, thank you. That would be so great. Dee, when you and I were on the mastermind call last week and we were talking to like the various people in the group, I think what's interesting is that, some people school will be their full-time gig, right? Like they're really giving it their all and they're putting everything into it, which is such a great place to be, right? And then there are other people who want it as badly, but they also have family and
Yeah.
they're also doing another full-time job or a part-time job or whatever it is. And we all want to do YouTube and we all want to, but sometimes you just need to sort of pick like what's the one thing, what's the, um, and we all only have so many hours in the day, right? So it'll be interesting adventure for you probably to figure out. There'll be lots of different ways to support people.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So we'll see. We'll see what the future brings. But I appreciate you coming on here and doing this, and I'm excited to see like one on YouTube, like what people think, but also like the people in the community. I find like these are good ways for people to get to know each other at a deeper level and then connect from there. So it'll be cool to, I think, like even talk to you in a year from now of like the difference of like where you're at here and like what's going on then. So
I'll be excited to see what happens too.
all right, y'all. Well, if you guys want to connect with me or Jen and you're not already in the community, I'll leave the link somewhere. And then if you're in here, obviously drop a comment, connect with us. But yeah, appreciate you coming on here.
Thanks so much.
See you guys.